Greetings, Portal Masters. I am Eon, and it is always a pleasure to see you. Welcome back to Skylands, a magical world of wonder and adventure. Or at least, it was. The year was 2016, and we here in Skylands were feeling the iron grip of our parent company, Titan. Toys to Life games were underperforming. Our target audience was growing up, and other series were ending or being cancelled altogether. So with one last-ditch effort, we put the power in your hands. The power to create, or rather, to imaginate. Only through using mind magic can you create...
I think my copy of this game is busted. Skylanders is dead and has been for a while. When I was a kid, I absolutely loved the first few entries in the series. Spyro's Adventure, Giants, like half a Swap Force. It was unlike anything I'd ever played. It really captured my imagination. Over time though, that love faded, both due to an oversaturation of Toys to Life games and also just aging out of the target demographic, and that seemed to be the case for most people too. The series dwindled both in popularity and in revenue, and one game ended up being the final nail in the coffin. Back in the day, Toys to Life as a concept to me was nothing short of magical. The idea of taking toys and bringing them to life in a video game was unlike anything I'd ever seen as a kid, and it captured my imagination and kind of kept it hostage for a couple of years there. There have been various takes on the genre from a few different franchises, but in my humble opinion, they all pale in comparison to the big boy, the main man, Skylanders. I've spoken about the series as a whole before, so I won't get too into it, but for anyone that needs the context, Skylanders is, or was, the king of Toys to Life games, and weirdly enough, it was the one that had the odds stacked against it. Sure, it was first, kind of. Actually, clearly someone's never heard of UB Funkies. Well, okay, it was definitely the first smash hit in the genre. Largely utilizing original characters, it was going up against the likes of the Walt Disney Company and Lego and coming out on top. It was envisioned originally as a quote-unquote revival of the Spyro franchise called Spyro's Kingdom, which evolved into a wholly original concept that kinda sorta featured Spyro and like two other characters from the series. Some people weren't happy with this, and I mean fair enough. Spyro got a whole redesign and it was pretty divisive. But for those of us actually in the target audience, we didn't care. We'd either never heard of Spyro or vaguely heard of Spyro, and the thing that really won us over was the Toys to Life mechanic. Placing a figure on the portal was presented like an actual magical experience. Words can't describe the amount of childlike wonder I experienced playing the first couple entries in the series. But like all good things, it eventually came to an end. Each year brought us a new entry in the Skylanders series, complete with a boatload of new figures to buy, character-exclusive gimmicks that locked game content behind real-world purchases. It just got out of control. Add on Disney Infinity, add on LEGO Dimensions, everyone wanting a piece of the pie oversaturated the market and drove consumers away. And without even considering the real-world economic factors, we all just grew up. I checked out of the series at Swap Force. I couldn't bring myself to finish it, despite getting a special edition Wii U console that included a unique Washbuckler figure. I was moving on to bigger and better things like Sonic Lost World. I'm a real man now. As far as I remember it, by the time 2015 SuperChargers rolled around, the overall opinion of Skylanders and Toys to Life in general was becoming more and more apathetic. The games were underperforming, the figures were rotting on store shelves, and Disney Infinity, arguably the Skylanders competitor, was discontinued, leaving everyone wondering, is this it? Including Activision, apparently. They gave developer Toys for Bob one final chance to right the ship with one last game, and we haven't had a new one since then, so Skylanders Imaginators is the 6th entry in the Skylanders franchise, released in 2016, and also, at the time of this recording, the final game in the series. Please make another one, please make another one, please make another one, please make another one, please make another one. It's also, as far as the majority of the fan base is concerned, the worst game in the series. Go figure. And what do I think? It's complicated. I've been trying to work that out myself. It's really different to the rest of the series as far as tone and presentation goes. Until recently, every single time I've tried to sit down and play this game, it hasn't clicked with me. And I haven't been able to get further than like the first level. The game's gimmick revolves around you creating your own Skylanders called Imaginators, which is cool as a concept, and I know some people that absolutely love that, but my issue with that is the thing that I love the most about the series, the Toys to Life aspect, is sort of hindered by it. Instead of having these really nice figures of strong character designs, your Imaginators are stored in creation crystals, which are weird-looking tubes. You collect parts for your Imaginators through loot boxes, known in this game as Imaginite chests. It doesn't sit right with me. 2016 was smack dab in the middle of the whole loot box craze. I remember games like Overwatch, Black Ops 3, Battlefield 1 went crazy with these, with the ability to pay real money for a chance at getting the item or cosmetic you wanted. It's gambling through and through. Luckily though, because the game was aimed at children, Imaginite chests could only be obtained through gameplay. You could build up quite a collection of them just playing through the game, and oh, what does this button do? Yeah, okay, look, to be quote-unquote fair here, you do get an abundance of Imaginite chests throughout the game. There is little point to purchasing them because there are always ways to obtain them, including buying them in real life. What? I'm tired, man. The real-life Imaginite chests were sold in blind bags and are one-time use. Kind of. See, you can have multiple profiles on a console, and on that profile, multiple save games. These chest figures are set up in a weird once per profile way, which means if you use them and then you make another save game, you can't do anything. But if you make a new profile on your console or you switch to another console entirely, you can put it on and it'll work. It still leaves a weird impression. It would be slightly better, I feel, as a once per save game thing, but still, it kind of goes against the whole Toys to Life thing. Okay, so the gimmick itself kind of fell flat for me. That's not great. Luckily, one of the benefits of the Skylanders franchise is its backwards or forwards compatibility with your older figures, meaning that you can use your entire collection of little guys that you've built up over the years in the new game. There's a catch, isn't there? The problem is, the game is balanced around the insane amount of damage that your Imaginators can do. Older Skylanders, regardless of how strong they were in previous games, all feel like they got a huge nerf, as they do as much damage as a wet paper towel, and take as much damage as a Sonic fan being told that he had a rough transition to 3D. What did you say to me? They die really quickly, and so it feels like you have to have the new figures, either the Imaginators or the new Sensei Skylanders, which we'll get to. To me, Imaginators also feels like it's lacking a soul. Dramatic words, I know, but one of the big things that brings people together when looking back on this series is the soundtrack and the way that it blends cinematic harmonies with fantastical elements while still feeling at home in a video game context. The soundtrack for Skylanders Imaginators, though, is largely stock music, and also a couple of reused tracks from older games, but still! Now, I don't have an issue with stock music as a concept. I mean, hell, I use it from time to time, but when you're in the 6th entry of a series that has built itself on a unique musical identity, with your main theme by Hans Zimmer just by the way, it feels like a bit of a spit in the face to have almost every single level theme, and also the main theme of the game, be pre-existing stock tracks that you've sourced from some website. Is that just me? The thing that is the biggest mixed bag for me is the story. It's what took me out of it every other time I've tried to play this game. The immediate game before it, SuperChargers, took itself a little more seriously and explored some darker themes. I mean, it was still a kid's game, but you know. And this time, instead of fight someone, they had to do taxes. But then Imaginators rolls around and it's like dumbed down to hell and clearly aimed at an even younger audience. Upon actually playing the game, it felt like a weird backdoor pilot for Skylanders Academy, a Netflix series aimed at kids based on the game but set in a different canon universe? I don't know. But the fact it's an AU makes the decision all the more strange to me in retrospect. But as the final Skylanders game, for now at least, does it feel like a worthy finale? Does Skylands go out with a bang? Or boom, I guess? Tell you what, everyone, sit back, relax, and let's go through the story of Skylanders Imaginators. And then you tell me. The game opens at Skylanders Academy with Spyro and Stealth Elf engaging in a head-to-head race. That already came off as odd to me. It's cool on paper, previous Skylanders having a role in the story, but it makes for some strange moments later, which we'll get into. Pop Fizz, Jetvac, Gilgrunt, and Eruptor are all present too. Immediately, it feels like there's been a weird tonal shift. It's not quite a reboot, but the dialogue and character moments do feel like they're aimed at a younger audience than previous entries. Suddenly, evil lightning enters the library. Oh no. And out pops this weirdo. Spyro and Stealth Elf's attacks do nothing, but in come the senseis. They just kind of show up.
Greetings, Portal Master.
Master Eon talks to us about how long ago an ancient race of beings called the Ancients used mind magic to create Skylands, which has been long dormant until someone remembered that it existed and decided to use it for evil. As a Portal Master, you must now use mind magic to purchase creation crystals. Make your very own Skylanders figures that you can't reset unless you take advantage of a glitch in the Wii and 3DS versions of Skylanders Giants. To aid us, Eon says he's sending us the senseis. He's just sending them to us. Bit of a cop-out, if you ask me. In all the previous games, even if it was a little weak, there was an explanation for why the Skylanders were figures in the first place, but here they just forego that entirely. Whatever. Spyro flies into the first level, has a weird, marvelly quip.
Strange that we can hear each other from this distance.
And then for the first time, you can put your Skylander on the Portal of Power. Now here's one of the issues I have with Spyro and some of the other Skylanders becoming NPCs. If you, for instance, put, Spyro, I guess, on the portal, then there's just 2 Spyros. Look, I get it. It's a kid's game at the end of the day, but if you put an Imaginator on the portal here, Spyro does have unique dialogue for each of the classes that it can be. So maybe having a quip along the lines of, whoa, it's like I'm seeing double, could have gone a long way, maybe. The actual moment-to-moment gameplay of Imaginators, for the most part, is solid, honestly. It's just Skylanders. It feels like Skylanders, you know? It's all there. The core gameplay of this one is one of the things that I actually don't have an issue with. As well as that, I really like the Sensei Skylanders. Their figures look awesome, and their designs are great, and they're really engaging characters. A good chunk of them are returning characters that were previously villains in earlier games. It's really neat. They kind of take the place of the core Skylanders in this game, and honestly, I ended up playing a majority of the game with these guys. Also, one of the villain senseis is Kaos, or to be lore accurate, a clone of Kaos, but I thought that was awesome. There's also Crash Bandicoot and Dr. Neo Cortex's senseis that you can play as, which feels like a really nice full circle moment for the series, with it starting with Spyro and kind of ending with Crash, I don't know. Having them also gives you access to a Crash-themed level, which is a nice addition. The Sensei Skylanders can use these shrines throughout levels that correspond with their class that gives you a nice cutscene that shows off their personality some more. It's a far cry from the elemental gates of previous games, and I kinda would have preferred having the elemental gates, but it is what it is. You go through some sort of structure made by the Ancients with Spyro and come face to face with Kaos, who's up to no good again, and he uses mind magic to power up the evil guy from the start, who turns out to be a Doomlander, Kaos' own minions, kind of his own version of the Imaginators. The Doomlanders have a lot of health, but you can melt them pretty easily with an Imaginator, which both do more damage by default to Doomlanders, and can also be kitted out with the right gear to do insane DPS regardless of who you're fighting. Kaos vows to spell doom for the Skylanders, floats away, and Spyro takes us to the mysterious ancient place, the MAP, or map. Oh, I get it! The MAP is an okay hub world, honestly. There's a decent amount of exploration you can do, random events, Skystones, which in this game is called Creation Clash, and Sensei Realms, which are miniature levels that require a Sensei of the corresponding element to enter. I know I kind of implied the shrines were a replacement for the elemental gates, and as far as extra levels within levels, yeah, it's not technically false, but these realms are the actual replacement for those gates. You can also do a bit of racing with stuff carried over from SuperChargers, so there's a decent amount of content to get stuck into. You go to the Skylander Academy, rescue Flynn, which is like the only time he's actually kind of relevant to the story, and if you'll allow me to complain again, this is the price we end up paying for having older Skylanders be part of the narrative. Their abundance of screen time ends up reducing the supporting cast of previous games to cameos, basically. It's another thing that just pushes the focus away from the world building and history of the franchise, and combined with the tonal shift and the change in target audience, it's just another thing that left the game feeling a bit stale. We meet up with Gilgrunt and Eruptor in the Mushroom River, where Imaginite shards have been found. Kaos' big floating head is there, you fight a Doomlander, level complete. Stealth Elf says, and I quote, "The ultimate goon got away," and you head after Kaos. He's heading up an invasion of Scholarville, which is a village full of scholars. Oh, I get it. He's looking for a MacGuffin called the Everlasting Thinking Cap, which he does end up getting. It grants him an audience with this big old brain-looking thing, who is named Brain. He's the last surviving ancient and proves it by saying anti-disestablishmentarianism, which, yeah, good enough for me. He gives Kaos the power to make the ultimate Doomlander, which summons a vortex, so you stop that, beat up a non-ultimate Doomlander, and then Kaos announces to the Skylanders that he has created the ultimate one. It's a big monster made of guacamole. Help Jetvac activate his old battleship, which is actually a pretty fun level with some physics segments involving this wrecking ball, and then shoot up the guac monster in a pretty easy baby's first shoot 'em up sort of thing. Jetvac gets sad about his missing lunch, Kaos gets sad about his missing guac monster, and Brain gives Kaos a vision of Pop Fizz. Okay. Pop Fizz alerts us that Fizzland is under attack. It's the place where he makes all of his potions. You can tell because it has Fizz in the name. I didn't enjoy Fizzland as a level. Sorry if you did, but this is kind of where the game started to really feel like a drag. The whole gimmick of the level involves doing psychedelics. Yep. Drink Pop Fizz's potions to see the whole world change. Things get wackier and more colorful, and you have to take his potions and return to the real world throughout the level to help solve puzzles and get ahead. It just, I don't know, drags. There's another physics thing with these globules, and man, the pacing was off and it just felt like it kept going. Kaos is sick of the place, you're sick of the place, you fight another Doomlander, he runs off, it's the same thing. There's no actual progression here, man. The plot doesn't move forward at all with most of these stages. It feels like filler episode after filler episode. The between stage cutscenes with Kaos and Glumshanks and Brain are kinda charming to give credit where it's due, but the main stages have barely anything going for them. Brain tells Kaos that his physical form is locked up in the Golden Arcade, so he tricks the Skylanders into opening that vault. Golden Arcade is actually a pretty solid level. It's got some great vibes, it's a really unique location, you get a cameo from Trigger Happy, and it's such a breath of fresh air after whatever Fizzland was. You have a unique Doomlander fight here that's done in 2D, which is pretty cool. You open the vault, Brain shoots off to visit Kaos, but it's kind of played for jokes, and I couldn't help but chuckle at it. Joining forces, Brain and Kaos send out a big mind control wave that, if I understand it correctly, brainwashes everyone in Skylands to worship them. Except for your Skylanders and Spyro, who is protected by dragon magic. To help undo the brainwashing, he takes you to the home of the dragons, which I thought was going to be a throwback to Dragon's Peak from Spyro's Adventure, but it ends up being a unique location that honestly feels like it'd be right at home in those earlier titles. It's cool, except for the giant Spyro heads, that was a little odd. The place is deserted, so the two of you investigate. After getting to the top and beating another Doomlander, all of the dragons appear again. They undo the brainwashing kind of instantly. Also, Cinder is there, like, sure, okay. I didn't even notice that at first. Then Pop Fizz tells you that they're gonna make a giant cake. If you'll allow me to complain again, this was the lowest point of the game for me. He sends you on various different missions to collect 8 ingredients for a cake that the Skylanders will use to bribe Kaos so that they can sneak into his lair. Sure, whatever. The problem is that these little missions just end up being a drag, and after each one, you have to navigate back to Pop Fizz so that he can tell you about some new missions, but they're in completely random spots each time. They can be the exact same one repeated, and you only get to do one of the few that he tells you about before having to go back to him and repeat the process. It's long, and it's drawn out, and it's like, come on, man, I just want to make a cake. Once you're done slogging through 8 mandatory random missions, you enter the Abandoned Amusement Park, which is actually another pretty cool level. It's a park based on the 4 adventure packs from the original Skylanders Spyro's Adventure: Darklight Crypt, Pirate Seas, Empire of Ice, and Dragon's Peak, which I thought was a really cool callback to the first game in the series without being too on the nose. If the whole game was approached like this, with references being built into the world and not just in your face, like with Spyro and the gang taking the place of like Flynn and Callie and Hugo, I think it'd be looked back on a lot more fondly. Make the cake, head over to Kaos's lair, use the cake as a Trojan horse, or in this case, a Trojan cake. Fight your way through Kaos's lair, which is full of Kaos's clones, take part in a game show of sorts, and face off against Kaos himself. Most of the other home console Skylanders games have taken some really awesome creative liberties when it comes to their final bosses. There was Chaosandra and Super Evil Kaos in Swap Force, there was Traptanium Kaos in Trap Team, and there was the whole concept of the darkness in SuperChargers. So you'd think, for the final Skylanders boss fight, for the final fight against Kaos, they'd pull out all the stops, right?
Just use your mind magic to make me even more super awesome and summon more super awesome Doomlanders than ever before!
Whatevs, presto, braino, and so forth.
Final boss of the Skylanders franchise is Kaos as a Super Saiyan. What the hell? Sure, whatever. There's a real weird dubsteppy remix of his theme. There's a bunch of things all at once, and honestly, it's overstimulating. I'm not sure how a kid would cope with all this. It's also a really artificial feeling difficulty jump. He's a huge damage sponge with like a bajillion HP. Most of my figures from this game died in this fight, and it just felt like the cherry on top of all the weird, strange things that led to this game ending the Skylanders franchise, maybe for good. Brain switches sides and joins up with us because Kaos insults his lack of thumbs? Okay, whatever. Beat Kaos, he gets shrunk into a little mason jar. Brain joins the Skylanders Academy as a professor, and that's it. The credits don't roll, you're just booted back to the map. And like, I don't know if it's just me, but the fact that the credits don't roll after you finish the story feels like that final little sprinkling of salt in the wound. Skylanders Imaginators is a strange game. This is the first time I've actually sat down and committed to seeing the game through to the end of its main story. To me, the story is kind of bland, kind of forgettable, and really just feels like the absolute bare minimum for a Skylanders plot. I'm really mixed on Imaginators as a whole. I went into it with an open mind. I love Skylanders, and I was trying to look for the good amongst everything. And like, I actually enjoyed parts of it. The core gameplay was fine, the senseis were great, and being fully honest, a couple of the small little jokes and quips actually got a chuckle out of me. But unfortunately, the cons outweighed the pros here for me. A gimmick that I didn't connect with, a lackluster story, nerfs to existing characters, and stock music in place of an actual composed soundtrack, coupled with just the concept of microtransactions and loot boxes in a Skylanders game, all culminated in an understanding of why Skylanders Imaginators killed the franchise.
There you have it, Portal Masters. A rushed game with missed potential was the final nail in the coffin for us here in Skylands. However, all is not lost. Something is brewing in the Skylanders community. More and more Portal Masters are reflecting on their journeys through Skylands, and people are taking notice. New Skylanders merchandise is being made, and our new parent company has expressed interest in returning to the series. But until that day, until that moment, the magic of Skylands will be with you always on your journey through life. The Skylanders and I will be eagerly awaiting your return when you are ready. Your adventure with the Skylanders is only just beginning.
Oh, no wonder this game flopped.